Hey everyone, so I'm here with my February reading rundown of published books. I read 3 thrillers, that's really hard to say, and 1 literary fiction. Let's get into it. I read 3 books I really liked this month and 1 I really didn't, so let's go from least to best as usual. All right, this book. I'm sorry. To the person who gave this book to me, I'm still very thankful that you gave it to me because I really did want to read another one of Freida McFadden's books, and I will say that reading something like this inspired me to write more, because if you ever feel inadequate about your writing, like read something that's not that good that somehow has been successful, and it will inspire you. Okay, so look, I don't like being a hater, but seriously, I do not get the success that this woman has found. I feel like most writing teachers, like if a student produced this, would have a lot to say and critique, namely show, don't tell. Everything in this book gets told by telling, not show. Any dialogue that's here is like completely just for plot. There's not a lot of depth, but I understand that the purpose of these books is plot and shock over character and nuance. So I shouldn't criticize it for something that it's never been trying to be. Okay, that being said, I did finish this book. I did not DNF it, so I guess it had that going for it. So I'll give it 2 stars for being mildly engaging. I wanted to know what happened. But then, like, when you get to the end and it's like ended satisfactorily and you think like, oh, all right, it ended satisfactorily, the book just goes, nope, F you, and craps all over itself. I was like, what? So, yeah, maybe that is like what this book is trying to do, is just like continuously try and shock you. So if you like Frida, I do not judge you. I don't, because I get it. Her books are easy to read. They're good beach reads. I get it. So no judgment. But after 2 of her books, I think I'm set. Okay, so the next book I read is another thriller called Long Bright River by Liz Moore. I read this because I read God of the Woods this past year and I really liked it. And I heard Long Bright River was even better, and I agree. I think Long Bright River is better than God of the Woods. I'm giving it a 4.25, which for like a formulaic thriller, I think is a pretty good score. It's not serving anything super novel or unique. It actually had strong Mayor of Easttown vibes, so if you like that show, you'd probably like this. It was a little bit formulaic in scope. It's like a detective solving a crime or a cop solving a crime. But there's more to say. There was definitely a viewpoint. So it is a unaliving mystery set amidst the drug epidemic in Philadelphia. A police officer is on the case and is also constantly worried that her sister, who has struggled with addiction for most of her life, will be like the next victim. So it is heart and gut-wrenching in places. I thought the reveals were good. I thought it did a really good job showing the unfairness of addiction in the way it pervades and in the way it's perceived. And I will say that like the last few lines of this book like took my breath away with like sad. Wow. This one is also coming out as a TV show on Peacock in like a couple weeks. It's like done. It's coming out. And it's starring Amanda Seyfried. I never know how to say her name, but I do like her. I'll definitely be watching the show, if anything, because this type of show is always up my alley. So there you go. Okay, the next book I read is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. I'm giving this 4.25 stars as well. This book was hard to read. It made me stabby in places. So this book is set in 1969, and it's about a young girl who gets knocked up by her older boyfriend. So you can see where this is going. She is shamed by literally every single adult in her life for the rest of time. Her parents, doctors, nurses, teachers, social workers, police officers. There isn't like one redeeming person. They all treat her like literal garbage. It is absolutely maddening, and it's one of those books that made me believe I might be capable of extreme violence. Okay, like, yeah, it gets you to that place. Anyway, the girl gets sent to a home for wayward girls, which is essentially babysitting for knocked up teenagers in a horrible house in Florida, where girls are not seen as actual humans, but rather as containers for babies that will be taken away and given to couples looking to adopt. And as an adoptive parent, that was a little hard for me. So the only adult that gives her any kind of hope in the whole world is the bookmobile librarian, who gives her a book about witchcraft, and she and her 3 friends in the home, who I loved all 3 of them, by the way, Zinnia, Rose, and Holly, were by far the best thing about this book. They decide to try their hands at some spells and bring about some much needed comeuppance. So the ending of this book did calm my anger and repair my torn soul. And I do recommend it if you're into this kind of thing, but be warned that it is a bit of a trigger warning spectacular. There is actually even a scene where she goes to the hospital to, give birth, and it's written very clinically. And that part, if you're squeamish, you won't like. So, there are things that are tough about it, but again, if you like that sort of thing, you should read it. And finally, I read The Mighty Red by Louise Erdrich. This was on all of like the best books lists last year, and it definitely deserves its place. I don't think it's the most memorable book I've ever read, but it did make me want to read more Louise Erdrich because she is definitely a master. And it was a gorgeous slice of life, character-driven litfic. The book is set in a small farm community in North Dakota and centers around a few families. The Geists, who are successful sugar beet farmers, and in particular their son Gary, who was involved in like a tragedy the year before and is like kind of desperate to fix his life. And he wants to marry Kismet Poe, who is the daughter of another local family. And Kismet is a very interesting character. She's not in love with Gary. She's actually in love with another boy in the town named Hugo, who is younger than she is and very intelligent and full of potential, but he's like not quite ready to offer her the life he wants to give her. So she does marry Gary instead, and she's swept into like the monotony of domestic farmhouse life. And you know, they say marry in haste, regret it at leisure, whatever, that's what she's doing. While her mother, Crystal, regrets allowing the marriage and is also dealing with her ex-husband's sudden crime spree. It's a very odd crime spree. So there's a lot going on in this book, obviously. And it was very engaging. I learned to care about all the characters in the book, and that's what a book like this is. It's a character study, and it was like stunning in that regard. Also, the tie-ins and symbolism with like the farming and the nature around them that surrounds these families was really, really gorgeous. So I give this book 4.5 stars. All right, and that's all for February. Do you have any book recommendations you think I should read? Let me know, and I will see you next time. Bye.